Hey everyone, James here again. Last weekend, a few folks decided to have concerts, and we need to talk about it. Now, as many of you know, we are still trapped in the world of coronavirus. There are more than 10 million confirmed cases of the disease globally, and here in the States, many parts of the country are seeing their highest daily new case totals to date, which is another way of saying that the problem isn't getting better, at least here in the US, it's actually getting worse. But still, over the past weekend, which was the last weekend in June, a number of musicians took the stage around the world. But there are two shows making headlines everywhere that I want to touch on real quick. Now, the first and most publicized event was country star Chase Rice performing at a former prison ground turned event center in Tennessee. Now, the venue usually holds about 10,000 people, but Tennessee state guidelines for live entertainment states that venues can only operate at 50% capacity right now. So the grounds were actually cut down to 4,000 and just under 1,000 turned up for the event. As you can see in the image up here, that's still a ton of people, and all of them were crammed up against the stage, no social distancing, no masks. And Chase Rice has come under a lot of fire for allowing this to happen and promoting crowds to sing along and really live in a quote-unquote normal show environment. But TMZ did get a hold of the people behind the venue, and in a comment released to the site, they said that they tried to take as many measures as possible and that they're reevaluating what they can do in the future. They said that all the people that were working the event were told to wear masks and gloves, and they made sure to provide plenty of sanitation opportunities. Considering that the total capacity was reduced by over 60%, there was lots of room for people to practice social distancing, but the crowd chose not to, and the venue did not take it upon themselves to enforce social distancing measures, which many feel they should. The venue says that again, they are reevaluating their work plan for the future, and they may not even have shows if they can't figure out a better way to handle these situations. It's also worth noting that Chase Rice is actually on tour right now, and all the other dates that he has planned throughout July and August are actually in more of a drive-in setting, so there will be more distance between people, at least in theory. But seeing this show take place has ruffled a lot of feathers, because we all want to get back to live music. But this kind of thing, where we're all crammed in like sardines, it's really not the safest thing right now, and you might be willing to risk it. Obviously, there were around 1,000 people in Tennessee who wanted to risk it to see Chase Rice. But is it worth it? The second show we need to touch on is EDM artist Diablo, who sold out the world's first quote-unquote corona-safe stadium show. Now, I know what you're wondering. If we can't get 1,000 people in Tennessee to go see Chase Rice without adhering to all the social distancing measures, how did an EDM artist in Germany fill a stadium? And the way he did it was kind of genius. Don Diablo and his team came up with these things that are basically fan pods. They're sets of 4 seats that are together and spaced out from other sets of 4 seats that filled the stadium floor. So if you were in that area, you and your 3 friends could take off your masks, take off your gloves, and just have a good time and live in the moment. You wouldn't be cramped or on top of all these other people, and you would feel socially distant as well as present for a concert. And so you still got that live experience without being shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of strangers. How seating worked in the stands is a little bit more vague at this point, but I tend to believe that it's probably basically the same thing. Sets of seats that are spaced out from the others. So even though he was in a stadium, the capacity was a lot less. And another thing to consider with this story, which I'm sure will be discussed in other places this week, is that Germany has done a much better job of getting a handle on the coronavirus. While we here in the United States are seeing some of the highest daily new case totals ever, Germany has vastly taken the disease down. It's much less people are getting sick every day, much less people are dying, and they are actually flattening the curve as we've tried to do here in the United States. So maybe that's an element in it, but either way, there's an artist out there that figured out how to return to stadiums and put on a stadium-worthy show with lasers and pyro and the whole 9 yards at a price that at least some people were able to afford. Which brings me to a few points that I want to make before we get out of this video. First, don't go to a concert. I mean, unless you absolutely want to, and I can't stop you because you have every right in the world to go to live music if there's an opportunity near you, but please, if you do, adhere to social distancing, wear a mask, use hand sanitizer, give people space. Don't take off your mask to sing along. Just if you have to sing along, just do it through the mask. You know, coronavirus isn't going away just because we want it to, and just because there are concerts, it doesn't mean you need to attend. the faster that we can actually flatten the curve and lower the total amount of cases and slow the spread, the faster that all the artists we love can get back on the road and we can have more concerts. But until then, when people break all these rules and guidelines and get a ton of people sick, that just slows down the forward momentum that we've all been working so hard to get towards. Here in the United States, in the start of April, we were actually seeing the numbers go down. But as people got sick of coronavirus and started heading back out and dining and going to events, those numbers shot back up because people aren't adhering to social distancing guidelines. The way that the show worked in Germany was great because it kept people away from one another, but before that happened, they actually flattened the curve. See, if we did that here in the States, it'd be a lot easier for Chase Rice to put on a concert for 1,000 people without a lot of people getting mad about it. And also, I think we need to consider the privilege that a lot of people have to attend concerts right now. Just this past weekend, I went to a stand-up comedy show that was socially distant, but I will tell you right now that it was $150 a ticket. Now that's a price that I can afford, thankfully, because I've been able to work this whole time. But there are a lot of people out there right now who would use $150 in a lot of different ways, from feeding their family, to paying their rent, to paying their bills, whatever it happens to be. And the more that we have these socially distant concerts in limited capacities, the ticket prices are just going to keep creeping up because people are going to want to get paid for the work and venues need to keep the lights on. And so the ticket prices are going to be high. And we have to keep ourselves in check with this, because if we just say, well, I can go to a concert because I can afford it and who cares if somebody can't go because they can't, we're really starting to make these divisions in fandom that shouldn't exist. And there are a lot of mid to low level bands that have fans that would die to see them that won't have an opportunity to because the ticket price point just doesn't make sense for the band or for their fans. It just doesn't work. So again, adhere to all the social distancing guidelines. Follow what the CDC is saying if you're here in the United States. And if you're in Europe or other parts of the world, keep doing whatever it is you're doing because it's working, and I'm a little bit jealous. And if you're wondering what's going on with my background, how it's been changing a lot as of late, I'm going to post another video very soon that explains what's happening. But it's all good news. There's a lot more coming, and I thank you for sticking around. If you haven't done so already, click the subscribe button down below. We're going to have a bunch of content for you very soon from a very cool location, and I can't wait to share it with you. If you've already subscribed, thank you so much. And as we end every episode, take care of yourself because you deserve it.